Okay, compared to 50 years ago, many more Australians don't go to church now, and nearly a third of Aussies say they have no religion. So where does that leave the church? Well, media producers at the Centre for Public Christianity in Australia have taken a critical look at the history of Christianity from the time of Jesus Christ through to our time in a documentary called For the Love of God. Let's welcome a presenter of the documentary, Dr. John Dickson, to Studio 10. Hello.
Hi, John.
So, Australians are losing their religion, essentially. Why is that? What have you found?
It's hard to tell. I think the performance of the church isn't awesome. And some people
Specifically
find
the Royal Commission?
Well, that, but I think a lot of other areas as well. They find it difficult to separate the institutional power from the kind of faith in that guy who said some stuff that I vaguely remember about loving people. And it's the disconnect between those two. I think people are drifting away from the church.
Quite a few people have said that if Jesus Christ came to earth now, he would find the church that is established in his name, any of them, completely unrecognisable. He would say, what are you doing? Why are there all these giant monuments? Why are you involved in all these business enterprises? This is someone who, you know, swept the money changers out of the temple. Do you think that's true? Do you think the churches have... Is there a complete disconnect between Christ and Christianity at the moment?
I don't think a complete disconnect. I mean, the thing is, you know, there'll be people watching us today who go to their little church in the suburbs where they're cared for and there's a meals ministry, they visit the elderly, and they'll be listening to me talking about the Crusades and Inquisitions and witch trials and going, that just doesn't feel like what's going on in my little church. But then, it's true, we all stand back and we look at church flexing its muscles in culture, acting as if it has moral authority over the culture, and that's really ugly, and that's the sort of thing, you're right, Jesus railed against in his day, and presumably he'll do the same today.
Look, your documentary also focused on the treatment of women in the churches where they've really been regarded as second-class citizens and, in some cases, you just mentioned, cast out as evil witches. How do women shape up in the church over history?
Again, better and worse than you'd ever imagine, which is really the theme of the documentary. So scholars don't doubt that Jesus had an incredible attraction to women. They found in him someone who treated them as whole human beings.
Isn't there now a consideration that Mary Magdalene was in fact an apostle now, not a prostitute as she was long regarded?
Oh, she certainly wasn't a prostitute. Scholars had worked that out ages ago. But she probably wasn't an apostle in the strict sense, but she was certainly a leader amongst Jesus' disciples. She was certainly a key disciple. She's first there at the tomb, which is striking because in the ancient world, women's testimony wasn't even really treated well in court. And yet the Gospels say, you know what, it might be a little bit embarrassing to us, but women saw it first. And this is one of the reasons historians think there's probably something really historical to that. Women were flocked to the early church. In the first 300 years, it was the great complaint against the church. It's a religion of women. I know that sounds weird to us today, but, you know, I've got to admit that over time, as the centuries rolled on, you get the burning of witches and all that sort of thing. So there's a better and worse story here.
And again, a disconnect between the original message and what the church has become. Now, you also focused on Nazi Germany and arguably the greatest evil humankind has ever committed, and how the churches were involved in that and whether or not they stood up to Hitler. Let's have a look at a clip we've got now.
This was where Adolf Hitler proclaimed his vision for the Third Reich. And what was the Christian church doing in response to the unfolding madness? Shamefully, not much. Both Catholic and Protestant leaders played into the hands of the Nazis. In fact, many were enthusiastic supporters, literally waving the flag.
But there were also courageous Christian individuals who did stand up to Nazi Germany. In fact, I think there was a very famous Christian figure called Hildebrand in Nazi Germany who...
a fine tradition.
Who thought that Catholicism was the only antidote to the evils of Nazism. What did you find out about the church and its role in...
It's better and worse than you ever imagined. I mean, the thing is, historians are clear, Hitler didn't like the church.
Yeah, that's right.
His table talk made perfectly clear he hated Christ. It was a sort of religion of slaves. but we could use the church because it's so big, right? And so, unfortunately, churches were attracted to power, the power that Hitler would give them. But some really prominent German Christians, like Dietrich Bonhoeffer, the most famous theologian in Germany at the time, spoke out against, wrote books against, and basically said, the church is going to hell if it supports this. We are not like Jesus Christ. Jesus wrote a beautiful tune, he would say.
Yeah.
Love your enemies, do good to those who hate you. And yet here we are not singing the tune. We're singing out of tune. And he lost his life for it. He was arrested and eventually hanged
As so many
just before...
good Christian people did as well.
Indeed, indeed. And he was hanged just before the liberation.
Yeah.
So it was a kind of tragic...
And now you're an Anglican rector, that's the
I'm sorry
title.
about
that. No, but I'm not accusing you of anything. But so when you're met with someone who says, well, I'm an atheist, you know, I don't believe in Jesus, what are you going to say to me?
Really? That's a fantastic conversation. I'd say he's real, I can show you the evidence, and he loves you. But I think what you're asking is, does this documentary have anything to offer the atheist? And I think even the atheist who doesn't really know what to do with Jesus knows that the church has had a massive influence on Western culture. And I'm trying to say...
A good or a bad influence?
Yes. Look, Christianity starts with the beautiful tune of Jesus, love your enemies, and he died believing that and offering himself. And then the church has sung that beautifully, establishing charities, the first hospitals, universities, human rights. All these things come from Christianity, but so do...
Crusades.
Witch trials, crusades, inquisitions.
Spanish Inquisition.
Right? Nobody expects it at all. Yeah. And we deal with it all. But the point of the documentary is to be really honest and say, you know, Jesus was the one who said, take the log out of your own eye, then you can see the speck in anyone else's.
Yeah.
And so this is like, the documentary is a bunch of Christian scholars taking the log, hopefully, out of our eye and saying, hey, look at this, it's really bad. It's worse than you ever imagined. But there's also some beautiful stuff in Christian history that often gets lost.
The documentary For the Love of God is on cinema release this month. You are wonderful, Dr. John Dickson. Thanks so much for joining us. I love talking to you.
That was great.
Now, Aussie music legends Mondo Rock are